The chapel bells tolled like a death knell as Henry Whittaker stood at the altar, his starched collar choking the life out of him, sweat beading on his forehead under the stained-glass saints who seemed to leer in judgment. "I can't do this," he whispered to the empty air. But the words dissolved into the murmur of the congregation. His iron-fisted father in the front row, eyes like steel traps, and Sarah's family, all polished smiles and old money, oblivious to the storm raging in his chest. Then the doors swung open, and there was Caleb, slipping in late like a shadow, his brother's best man Ty Askew, those damn blue eyes locking onto Henry's with an intensity that made the world tilt, because in that split second, Henry knew this marriage wasn't salvation, it was his goddamn undoing. Upstate New York in late October had a way of mirroring the rot inside a man. Crimson leaves bleeding from the maples, fog rolling off Lake Ontario like unspoken regrets. Henry had grown up in this rust-belt town of Elmwood, where the paper mills shuttered decades ago and folks clung to family legacies like life rafts. The Whittakers owned the last standing hardware store on Main Street, a creaky relic stocked with nails and grudges. His father, Big Jim Whittaker, ruled it with a Bible in one hand and a ledger in the other, preaching self-reliance while chaining his only son to the wheel. Blood before everything, boy, Jim had growled when Henry came out at 18, fresh from a fumbling kiss behind the bleachers with his high school track buddy. No rainbow flags here, just a slammed door and a lifetime of fixing what wasn't broken. Sarah Hargrove was the fix. Her family ran the lumber yard that supplied Whittaker hardware, and in Elmwood, mergers weren't just for Wall Street, they were survival. Jim and Old Man Hargrove had schemed it over whiskey at the VFW Hall. Unite the bloodlines, secure the supply chain, keep the town afloat. Sarah was sweet enough, blonde curls, a laugh like wind chimes, volunteering at the animal shelter with a heart bigger than her trust fund. She'd whispered yes to Henry's proposal on bended knee at the county fair, oblivious to the script his father had handed him word for word. But Henry, he was a ghost in his own skin, reciting vows in his head like a prisoner counting days. Caleb Hargrove was the complication no one saw coming. Sarah's little brother, 25 to her 29, the wild card who'd skipped college for bartending gigs in Syracuse and odd jobs fixing up vintage motorcycles in their garage. He had that Hargrove jawline, sharp as a switchblade, but eyes like the lake on a stormy day, deep, unpredictable blue that pulled you under. Henry had met him first, actually, at a backyard barbecue 2 summers back. Caleb had shown up grease-streaked from wrenching on his Harley, cracking jokes that cut through the small talk like a hot knife. "Heard you're the straight arrow type, Whittaker," he'd said, clapping Henry on the back a beat too long. "Bet you could use a little torque in your life." Henry's laugh had been genuine, the first in months, but he'd yanked his hand away like it had burned. Now, as the organ swelled and Sarah glided down the aisle in ivory lace, bouquet trembling in her hands, Henry stole glances at Caleb in the third pew. The guy was slouched, arms crossed over a charcoal vest that hugged his broad shoulders, a faint scar snaking down his jaw from some bar fight he never talked about. Why did his presence feel like a lifeline tossed into quicksand? The priest droned on, in sickness and in health, and Henry mouthed the responses on autopilot, his mind replaying that barbecue. Caleb's calloused fingers brushing his as they passed a beer, the way the sunset gilded his stubble, turning him into something mythic, untouchable. The reception was a blur of clinking glasses and forced toasts in the Hargrove's sprawling Victorian on Elmwood's east side. Fairy lights strung across the veranda twinkled against the chill, casting golden halos on the faces of aunts and uncles swapping stories of better days. Henry nursed a bourbon at the edge of the crowd, Sarah's laughter bubbling nearby as she danced with her cousins. He felt like an exhibit in a museum of bad decisions, smile pinned on heart-hammering escape routes. "You look like you're plotting a heist." Caleb's voice slithered in from the shadows, low and gravelly, carrying the faint tang of cigarette smoke. He leaned against the porch rail, flask in hand, offering it with a crooked grin. "Here. Liquid courage for the condemned." Henry took a swig, the burn steadying him. "Condemned's about right. You always this charming at weddings. Or is it just mine?" Caleb chuckled, a sound that rumbled like thunder over the lake. "Weddings make me philosophical. Sarah's over the moon, though. Thinks you're her knight in flannel armor." He paused, eyes narrowing as he studied Henry. "You? Not so much." The honesty hit like a gut punch. Henry glanced away, toward the dark yard where fireflies ghosted like lost souls. Families got a way of writing the script. Doesn't leave much room for edits. Caleb nodded, slow, like he got it deeper than words. "Yeah. Hargroves ain't much better. Dad's got Sarah on a pedestal and me in the doghouse." "Man up, Caleb. Stop chasing skirts and shadows." He mimicked the old man's bellow, then sighed. "Shadows. That's me, I guess." Their shoulders brushed as Caleb shifted closer, the heat of him cutting through the autumn bite. Henry's pulse stuttered. Dangerous territory. This. He'd buried that part of himself years ago, after his father's ultimatum. Shape up or ship out. No safety net. But Caleb's proximity was a spark to dry tinder. "What shadows are you chasing?" Henry asked, voice barely above the jazz quartet's hum. The grin faded, replaced by something raw, unguarded. The kind that don't give a damn about bloodlines or legacies. The real shit. His gaze held Henry's, electric, and for a heartbeat, the party vanished, the world narrowing to the space between them, charged with what-ifs. Sarah's voice sliced through. "Henry, cake time." She waved from the doorway, radiant, expectant. Henry forced a nod, handing back the flask. "Duty calls." As he walked away, Caleb's whisper trailed him. "Screw duty, man. Find your own North Star." That night, in the bridal suite of the Elmwood in silk sheets and champagne flutes mocking their charade, Henry lay awake beside Sarah's soft breathing. She curled into him, murmuring dreams of white picket fences and 2.5 kids. Guilt gnawed at him, sharp as shattered glass. This woman deserved a husband who burned for her, not a man whose mind wandered to her brother's shadowed grin. But as dawn crept through the curtains, painting the room in bruised purples, Henry slipped from bed and stepped onto the balcony. The town stirred below, trucks rumbling to the mills, coffee brewing at the diner. Freedom tasted like fog on his tongue. And somewhere in the Hargrove house across town, Caleb slept, oblivious to the fracture he'd unwittingly cracked wide open. The first weeks of marriage were a masterclass in performance art. Sarah threw herself into nesting, transforming their starter home, a fixer-upper craftsman on Willow Lane, into a Pinterest fever dream of shiplap walls and herb gardens. Henry played along, hammering shelves in the garage while Jim clapped him on the back. "That's my boy, building something solid," but solid felt like sinking sand. Nights, he'd stare at the ceiling, replaying Caleb's words, the brush of his arm a phantom itch. They saw Caleb sporadically, At Sunday dinners where he'd show up fashionably late, nursing a beer and trading barbs with Henry that skirted too close to flirtation. Past the potatoes, Groomzilla, he'd tease, winking over mashed Yukon Golds. Sarah would roll her eyes, affectionate. Ignore him, Aunt. He's allergic to domestic bliss. But Henry couldn't ignore. Not when Caleb lingered after, helping clear plates, their hands colliding over the sink in a jolt that lingered like static. You two are like an old married couple, Sarah joked once. Oblivious. Henry laughed it off. But inside, the truth clawed. He was drowning in her light, craving Caleb's dark. It escalated on a crisp November afternoon, 3 weeks post-vows. Sarah was at the shelter, cooing over kittens. Henry was at the store, tallying inventory when the bell jingled. Caleb strode in, boots tracking sawdust, a toolbox slung over his shoulder. Dad sent me to fix that leaky faucet in the back office. Said you'd botch it. Henry snorted, setting down his clipboard. Because I'm the city boy now? Nah. Because you're distracted. Caleb's eyes flicked up, holding. By wedding bells or something heavier? The store emptied early Fridays, townies heading to Friday night lights. They were alone, the air thick with the scent of oiled wood and unspoken hunger. Caleb knelt by the sink, wrench turning with practiced ease, muscles flexing under his Henley. Henry watched, transfixed, until Caleb glanced back. You gonna stand there gawking? Or hand me the gasket? Henry moved closer, their knees brushing. What's your game, Hargrove? Stirring shit up then vanishing? Caleb straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. Close enough Henry could smell motor oil and mint gum. No game. Just calling it like I see it. His voice dropped. You look miserable, Henry. Like you're wearing someone else's skin. The dam cracked. Henry's hand shot out, gripping Caleb's wrist hard, desperate. And what if I am? What then? Time fractured. Caleb didn't pull away. Instead, he stepped in, breath mingling. Then you fight for your own damn skin. His free hand cupped Henry's jaw, thumb tracing the stubble. And then, Christ, their mouths crashed together, rough and ravenous, years of denial igniting in a kiss that tasted like rebellion. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the wrench clattering to the floor. This is insane, Henry panted, even as his body screamed more. Caleb's laugh was broken. Insane's the only real thing left, but reality intruded, a customer's truck rumbling up the drive. They sprang apart, hearts pounding, the air humming with aftershocks. That kiss haunted Henry like a fever dream. He avoided Caleb for days, burying himself in work, in Sarah's warmth. But guilt festered, twin serpents, betrayal of his wife, of the family empire built on this fragile piece. Yet desire won out. Late-night texts started, innocent at first, rains flooding the yard, need a hand? Then laced with subtext, can't stop thinking about that gasket. Their second stolen moment came at the Hargrove Christmas party. Tinsel-draped chaos in the Victorians' great room. Eggnog flowed. Carols warbled off-key. Sarah, tipsy and glowing, pulled Henry onto the dance floor for a slow sway to Silent Night. I love you, she murmured into his neck. Henry's chest ached. Love, yes, but not the kind that set souls ablaze. He excused himself for air, finding Caleb on the Widow's Walk, city lights sprawling below like fallen stars. Snow dusted his hair, turning him ethereal. "Knew you'd come up," Caleb said, passing a joint. The smoke curled between them, loosening tongues. "I shouldn't." Henry inhaled deep, coughing on truth. "Sarah, she's good. Cal deserves better." Caleb's eyes softened, pained. "She loves you blind. But you're half alive." He stubbed the joint, turning fully. "Tell me I'm wrong." Henry couldn't. Instead, he surged forward, kissing Caleb with snowflakes melting on their lashes, hands fisting wool coats. They tumbled against the railing, urgent and unpracticed, the world a distant hum. Caleb's fingers tangled in Henry's hair, pulling just enough to sting, his moans swallowed in the flurry. Downstairs, laughter echoed. They parted breathless, reality's cold slap. "We can't," Henry whispered. "We already are." Caleb's grin was defiant, laced with fear. "Question is, how long till it breaks everything?" Winter clamped down on Elmwood like a vice, burying secrets under drifts that muffled screams. Henry navigated the holidays on eggshells. Thanksgiving at the Whitakers, where Jim carved turkey with surgical precision and lectured on legacy. "This town's in our veins. Son, don't you forget." And Christmas Eve at the Hargroves, where Sarah's joy was a spotlight he dodged. Caleb was there, of course, playing the prodigal son with rye toasts and sidelong glances that seared. Under the mistletoe, Henry kissed Sarah dutifully, but his eyes sought Caleb across the room, who raised his glass in mocking salute, blue depths promising midnight reckonings. Their affair bloomed in stolen fragments. A hurried fumble in the hardware store's stockroom after closing, Caleb's back against paint cans, Henry's mouth mapping the tattoos snaking up his ribs, a faded anchor from his Navy dropout days, a compass rose pointing nowhere. "You're killing me," Caleb gasped, nails digging crescents into Henry's hips. "Worth it?" Henry growled back, chasing oblivion in the salt of his skin. But bliss was brittle. Sarah noticed the shifts, Henry's late nights inventorying, his distant stares during her chatter about baby names. "Everything okay, babe?" she'd ask, curling against him in bed, her touch sisterly now, devoid of spark. He'd murmur assurances, hating the lie, the way it corroded them both. New Year's brought the first fracture. The Hargroves hosted a bash in their heated barn, hay bales and string lights transforming it into a rustic fever. Fireworks cracked over the fields as midnight tolled, couples entwining in euphoric clinches. Henry found Caleb by the wood stove, nursing a whiskey, jaw set. "Happy fucking New Year," Caleb muttered, clinking glasses. Their kiss was savage, teeth and tongues, hands roaming under flannel until a cough shattered it. Sarah, silhouette in the doorway, eyes wide. She laughed it off, chalking it to booze. "You boys and your bromance. Come dance. It's our resolution." Relief flooded Henry, but Caleb's gaze darkened, a storm brewing. Later, as confetti swirled, Caleb pulled him aside in the tack room, voice low thunder. "That was too close. We gotta cool it." Henry's gut twisted. "Or what? Pretend this doesn't exist." Caleb's hand fisted his shirt. "Pretend, or lose everything. Sarah finds out, Dad disowns me. Your old man? He'll bury you." The words landed like blows, but beneath was fear not for legacies, but for them. Henry nodded, throat tight, but cooling felt like amputation. January dragged, gray and relentless. Henry threw himself into the store, expanding online sales to modernize, as Jim grunted approval. Sarah announced her pregnancy scare, negative, thank God, or hell, who knew? And they celebrated with takeout Thai, her relief mirroring his secret dread. Fatherhood in this farce? Unthinkable. Caleb vanished into Syracuse shifts. Text sparse. Miss your sorry ass, followed by a winking emoji. Then radio silence. Henry ached. Scrolling old photos, a candid from the wedding. Caleb mid-laugh. Sunlight fracturing his eyes. Was this love, or just the thrill of transgression? The thaw came violently, mid-February, with a nor'easter dumping 2 feet overnight. Roads closed. Power flickered. Sarah bunked with her mom for girl time. Henry shoveled the drive alone, muscles screaming catharsis. His phone buzzed mid-scoop. Caleb. Stuck at the folks. Power's out. Come keep me warm. Henry's truck fishtailed through back roads. Hard a war drum. The Hargrove house loomed dark. Candles guttering in windows. Caleb yanked him inside. No preamble. Mouths fusing in the foyer. Coats shedding like skins. They stumbled upstairs to Caleb's boyhood room. Posters peeling. Bed creaking under their frenzy. It was slower this time. Exploratory. Henry's lips tracing the scar on Caleb's jaw. Bar fight in 18. Guy called me a fag. Caleb's hands worshipping Henry's chest. Murmuring beautiful like prayer. After. Tangled in sheets scented with pine and sweat. Caleb traced patterns on Henry's arm. Ever think about running? Just you. Me. Some nowhere town, Seattle. Maybe. Rain like curtains. No one knowing our names. Henry's chest hollowed. And Sarah? The stores? It's not that simple. Caleb's laugh was bitter. Simples for suckers. This, he gestured between them. This is messy. Real. Worth the fallout. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of Jim's rage. Sarah's tears. Dawn broke slate gray. Henry slipped out before the house stirred. Guilt a lead weight. At home. Sarah returned bubbly, laden with gossip. Mom says you're a saint for braving the storm. He hugged her, tasting ash. Spring unfurled tentative, crocuses pushing through mud, sap rising in the maples. The hardware store bloomed with lawnmower tune-ups, Jim barking orders like a drill sergeant. Henry and Caleb orbited warily. A brush of fingers at Easter brunch, a heated stare across the pews at First Methodist. Tension coiled, electric. Then betrayal slithered in, unbidden. Sarah's best friend, Mia, sharp-eyed hairdresser with a gossip's nose, cornered Henry at the diner over coffee. Saw you two at the storm party. Cozy. Her smile was a blade. Sarah's my sister from another mister. Hurt her. Whitaker. And I'll gut you. He played dumb, spilling sugar like nerves. Just helping a brother-in-law. Mia's eyes narrowed. Brothers don't look at each other like that. She left him skewered, paranoia blooming. Was she bluffing? Spilling to Sarah already? That night, Henry confronted Caleb at his garage, the air thick with oil and accusation. Mia's onto us. Says she saw. Caleb paled, wrench slipping. Shit. She was at the house? I didn't. He raked hands through hair. We gotta tell Sarah. Clean break. Henry recoiled. Tell her? Destroy her? Our families. Better than lies eating us alive. Caleb stepped close, pleading. I love you. Not some side hustle. This is it for me. The words detonated. Love. Henry's knees buckled. He hauled Caleb into a bruising kiss. Desperation's edge. I love you too. Damn it. But how? They plotted in whispers. Come clean together. Frame it as a marriage mismatch. Beg forgiveness. Noble. Futile. But hope flickered. Fragile as mayflies. May arrived with lilacs and lies unraveling. Sarah planned a baby moon getaway, Niagara Falls, kitschy romance. Henry begged off with store crunch time, hating the deceit. Instead, he drove to Syracuse, Caleb's apartment a third-floor walk-up overlooking the Erie Canal. They spent the weekend barricaded, making love like apocalyptics, lazy mornings with diner pancakes, afternoons tangled on threadbare couches watching old westerns, nights where Caleb's stories spilled, the Navy discharge after a bunkmate's accusation, the aimless drift since. You're my anchor, Henry confessed one dusk, canal barges moaning below. Caleb's smile cracked. Don't say that. Anchors sink ships. Back in Elmwood, the axe fell. Sarah confronted him over pot roast. Eyes red-rimmed. Mia's full of shit, right? You and Caleb, it's not. Her voice fractured. Henry's world imploded. Denial surged. Of course not. But her flinch undid him. Baby. She bolted, tears streaming. He chased to the Hargroves, where chaos reigned, old man Hargrove bellowing, Caleb white-faced in the kitchen. Sarah slapped him, crack echoing like gunshot. My brother? My fucking brother. Caleb stepped forward. Sar. It just happened. We didn't mean. You stole my life, she screamed, hurling a vase. Shards flew. Blood trickled from Caleb's brow. Jim arrived, summoned by whispers, his face granite. Whitaker blood runs true. Goddamn fairy. The melee blurred, yells, slammed doors, Sarah's sobs wrenching gut deep. Henry reached for her. I never wanted to hurt you. She recoiled like burned. Get out. Both of you. They fled into the night, gravel crunching under tires. Caleb's hand found Henry's over the console. Told you it'd break. Henry gripped tight, tears blurring taillights. Worth it, Caleb's whisper. Every shattered piece. Summer scorched Elmwood into submission. Air thick as molasses, humidity curling at the edges of sanity. The hardware store became a furnace of resentment. Jim demoted Henry to stock boy, hissing family disgrace under every order. Whispers slithered through aisles. Whitaker's queer as a $3 bill. Customers averted eyes. Sales dipped. Sarah filed papers quietly, her lawyer dad greasing the annulment. Irreconcilable differences. The euphemism for betrayal's stink. Caleb vanished first, packing his Harley for parts unknown. Need space to breathe, he texted Henry. Cryptic coordinates. Route 90 West. Don't follow. Fix your wreckage. Henry stared at the screen till dawn, thumb hovering over reply. Love him? Hell yes. But wreckage was his middle name. He crashed at a buddy's couch, Tommy, extract teammate who'd stuck through the coming out fallout. Rough gig. Man. Tommy grunted over beers, oblivious to depths. Sarah's gold, you'll rebound. Henry nodded, numb, while inside, Caleb's absence gnawed like termites. Rebuilding started small therapy in Syracuse, a grizzled vet named Doc Harlan who chain-smoked and cut no slack. Family's a cult if it chains you, Harlan rasped first session. What's your god now? Henry floundered. Legacy? Love? The doc leaned in. Bullshit. Gods don't demand your soul. Sarah's olive branch came mid-July. A coffee at the diner, neutral ground. Her curls pinned back. Makeup armor. I hate you, she started. Voice steady. But I get it. Kinda. Turns out, Mia's suspicions predated the storm. Sarah had buried doubts, clinging to the fairy tale. Caleb always was the flame to my hearth. Should have seen you two orbiting. Henry's throat closed. I'm sorry doesn't cut it. No, she sipped black. Eyes lake blue like her brother's. But we're blood now. Sorta. Don't let Dad grind you to dust. She slid a check across Hargrove Lumber Discount. Her quiet sabotage. Start over. For real. Gratitude choked him. They hugged awkward. Fracture mending jagged. Tell Cal I miss his dumb ass? She added, half-smile cracking. August brought fire literal. The mill district blaze that gutted 3 warehouses. Smoke choking sunsets. Elmwood rallied. Firefighters hosing embers. Locals hauling supplies. Henry loaded trucks at dawn. Sweat-soaked. When Caleb rolled in on the Harley. Dust-caked from Montana ranches. Heard about the fire. Figured you needed muscle. Their eyes met over crates, charged. Wary. No words, just a nod. Work sinking like old rhythm. That night, bonfire vigil at the lake. Beers passed in circle. Caleb sat offset, flames gilding his scar. Henry drifted over. Montana suits you. Cowboy chic. Caleb snorted. Bulls and boredom. Missed the drama. Pause. Heavy. Missed you. The circle thinned. They walked the shore. Pebbles crunching confession. Sarah talked to me, Henry said. We're civil. Caleb halted. Waves lapping ankles. Good. She deserves peace. His voice roughened. Me? I ran 'cause I couldn't watch you choose. Henry's hand found his. Cold water shocking. Chose you. Every time. The kiss was salt-laced. Tentative. Forgiveness in the tide's pull. But peace was illusion. Jim's ultimatum landed like ordnance. Sellout notice pinned to the store door. You're out. Boy. Legacies for men. Not mistakes. Henry stared at the ink. World graying. Tommy offered a loan. Flip houses. Man. But pride balked. Caleb, overhearing at the bonfire's end, growled, Screw him. We'll build our own. September whispered change. Leaves turning traitor. Air crisping resolve. They shacked up in Caleb's garage apartment. Makeshift. Futon mattress. Chilly suppers from cans. Mornings. Caleb wrenched bikes. Henry sketched business plans. Online toolkits for blue-collar nomads. Whitaker's Wanderer. Calls to investors ghosted. But Sarah's check seeded a website. Her anonymous boost. Intimacy deepened. Scars mapping trust. Caleb opened veins. Navy discharge papers yellowed in a drawer. Conduct unbecoming code for a stolen kiss in the showers. Lost my shot at hero. He muttered one rain-lashed night. Henry's head on his chest. You're my redo. Henry shared ghosts. High school beatings post coming out. Jim's therapy sessions with a preacher who prayed away the gay. Thought I could pray it straight for Sarah. For him. Caleb's arms tightened. Ain't no straight in you, love. Just bent toward truth. Fall equinox brought the storm. Metaphoric. Jim's ambush at the diner. Face purpled. Heard you're shacking with that Hargrove reject. Town's laughing, fist slammed, coffee sloshing. Henry stood tall. Your legacy is poison. I'm done. Jim's laugh barked. Done? You're nothing without me. But as Henry walked out, bell jingling finality, something shifted, backbone stealing. October harvest moon. They road-tripped to the Finger Lakes, Harley rumbling, wind therapy. Vineyards sprawled gold. They picnicked on Riesling and regrets. Marry me, Caleb blurted, ringless, earnest. Henry's laugh bubbled free. Thought you'd never ask. Back home. Betrayal's echo. Mia. Sarah's shadow. Leaked texts to the Elmwood Gazette. Anonymous tip. Local scandal. Brotherly love? Front page fodder. Blurry photo of them lakeside. Phones rang off. Jim disowning formal. Hargrove patriarch raging voicemails. Sarah texted, ignore the noise. Your family, weirdos. Climax brewed at the VFW Halloween bash. Costumed catharsis. Ghosts and ghouls masking malice. Jim cornered them by the punch bowl. Sarah at his elbow. Reluctant witness. Parade your perversion here? In my town. Caleb stepped up. Unflinching. Your town? We bleed for it same as you. Jim swung. A haymaker Henry blocked. Knuckles cracking. Chaos erupted. Chairs toppling. Fists flying. Sarah screamed. Mia dialed cops. Henry pinned his father, whispering fierce. I loved you, Dad. But this us is my blood now. Sirens wailed. Jim slumped, winded, eyes fracturing defeat. You were my boy. Still am. Henry released, walking away with Caleb's hand in his. Sarah trailing. Wait. I'm sorry. For everything. The night air bit. Stars indifferent. They drove to the lake. Stripping to boxers. Diving into black water. Baptism cold. Cleansing. Surfacing. Caleb pulled Henry close. We survived. Henry kissed him. Waves applauding. We thrive. November's chill heralded reckoning. Store sold piecemeal. Jim's concession. Grudging funds split. Henry and Caleb launched Wanderer Works from a rented Syracuse loft. Drop-shipping wrenches to dreamers. Orders trickled. Hope surged. But cracks spidered. Caleb's nightmares worsened. Navy flashbacks. Thrashing awake sweat-soaked. Can't shake the shame, he'd mutter, pulling away. Henry soothed with touches. Words. Shame's his. Not yours. Yet distance grew. Unspoken. Thanksgiving fractured further. Sarah hosted neutral. Jim absent. Turkey carved awkward. Toasts to new chapters. But post-meal, Caleb bolted to the porch. Chain smoking. Henry found him. Talk. Can't do half measures. And if we're all in, I need out for good. Eyes haunted. West Coast? Start clean. Henry's heart seized. Us against Elmwood, that was the deal. Caleb crushed the butt. Elmwood's in our bones. Dragging us under. Fight ignited, yells echoing yard. Running again? That's your fix. Henry accused. Caleb fired back. Staying suicide. For you. Sarah intervened. Arms crossed. Boys. Enough. To Caleb. You're scared. But love, it bends. Doesn't break. Her hand on his. For me. Stay. He deflated. Nodding. Truce fragile. But mended. December dusted snow. Softening edges. Wanderer hit milestone. First bulk order. craft brewery tools. They celebrated in the loft, candles flickering, slow dancing to Coltrane. Caleb's proposal redux, a silver band etched with compass rose. Navigate with me? Henry slipped it on, tears salting. Always, yet betrayal's ghost lingered. Mia, contrite, confessed leak, thought it'd free Sarah. Backfired. Forgiveness came grudging. She volunteered at the shelter, amends in action. New Year's Eve, Elmwood Square, fireworks over the gazebo. Jim appeared unannounced, coat dusted white. Heard you're making do. Gruff. No apology. Henry nodded. More than. Jim eyed Caleb. Then the ring. Take care of him. Handshake tentative, blood thawing. As midnight bloomed, they kissed under bursts, townies cheering oblivious. Human frailty bound them. Imperfect, enduring. Winter's grip loosened into a tentative spring. Elmwood exhaling after the long hibernate. Wanderer Works burgeoned, podcast tie-ins with blue-collar podcasters. Viral TikToks of Caleb wrenching in slow-mo. Henry's earnest pitches sealing deals. The loft expanded to a warehouse sliver. Employees trickling. Tommy on logistics. A queer kid from Ithaca on socials. We're building, Henry told mirrors. Practicing belief. Caleb bloomed 2 night classes at Onondaga Community. Welding certs toward fabrication dreams. No more drifting, he'd say. Grease under nails. Eyes alight. Their rhythm synced. Coffee runs at dawn. Loft dinners of takeout gourmet. Nights where bodies spoke what words fumbled. Henry learning the map of Caleb's freckles. Caleb tracing Henry's laugh lines with reverent fingers. But undercurrents swirled. Sarah dated, an accountant from Rochester, mild-mannered, stable. He's vanilla. She confided over wine at their loft. Third wheel easy now. But happy's happy. Henry toasted. Bittersweet. Caleb joked. Send him our way if he bores you. We do spice. Jim's thaw accelerated in fits. A grunt approval on a Wanderer ad in the Gazette. A Father's Day card terse. Proud. Sorta. No hugs. But presents. Dropping tools at the warehouse unannounced. Quality check. Caleb ribbed. Old man's going soft. Henry hoped. Wary. Summer solstice scorched again. Festivals pulsing Main Street. Pride made tentative inroads, rainbow flags on select porches. Afloat in the apple harvest parade. Henry and Caleb marched. Hands linked defiant. Sarah cheering from sidelines with Mia, now allies. Jim watched from afar, face unreadable. The idol cracked Labor Day weekend. A Hargrove family reunion at the lake house, swimsuits and sunburns. Old wounds probed over potato salad. Old man Hargrove pulled Caleb aside. That Whitaker boy's poison. Come work the yard, real legacy. Caleb's refusal polite steel. My legacy's mine now. Dad. Ears burned. Whispers followed. Sarah mediated. Fierce. They're good together. Let it be. But tension simmered. Boiling over bonfire that night. Hargrove cousins slinging slurs veiled as jokes. 2 bulls in 1 pen, crowded. Caleb snapped. Chair toppling. Fuck your pens. We're free range. Brawl averted by uncles. Henry hauled him lakeside, cooling tempers with splashes. Not worth it, Henry soothed. Caleb's eyes blazed. Worth everything. But tired, and of proving. Fall painted fury, foliage riots, winds howling omens. Wanderer boomed. Investor bites from Buffalo VCs. Scalable. Authentic. Offers tempted. Relocate to Albany. Fat salaries. Fresh start. The suit pitched over Zoom. Caleb paced post-call. Told you? Clean slates. Henry hesitated. Elmwood's home. Roots. Roots strangle. Caleb's voice cracked. Or haven't you noticed? Doubt seated. Nights. Henry scrolled Zillow. Upstate escapes. Adirondack cabins whispering wild. But Sarah's call yanked reality. Dad's sick. Prostate. Bad. Hargrove patriarch withered fast. Chemo gaunt. Empire crumbling sans air. Caleb bedside vigil. Henry's shadow support. He hated me. Caleb confessed sterile hall. Vending coffee bitter. But blood's blood. Jim visited once. Awkward truce. Herds the old buzzards fading. Tough. No more. But effort. October's chill deepened the vigil. Hargrove passed mid-month. Funeral procession snaking to Oakwood Cemetery. Bagpipes wailing. Elmwood halting. Sarah eulogized tearless. He built walls. We tear them down. Caleb gripped Henry's hand through the graveside prayer. Knuckles white. Wake at the Victorian-turned maelstrom. Relatives circling wagons. Eyeing Caleb. Should have stepped up. He endured. Stone-faced. Till a slurred uncle lunged. Fairy took my inheritance. Fist connected. Caleb reeled. Lips splitting. Henry surged. Tackling. Enough! Chaos yells. Shattered lamps. Sarah banished kin. Mia herded stragglers. In the wreckage. Caleb slumped stairs. See? Poison. No. Henry knelt. Dabbing blood. Family's mess. We clean it. Inheritance dust settled. Lumber yard to Sarah. Scraps to Caleb. Prove yourself codicil unmet. He burned the will symbolically. Ashes to the lake. Free. November elections buzzed. National noise bleeding local. Elmwood voted red. As ever. Henry and Caleb canvassed blue pockets. Knocking doors for equality bills. Backlash bit. Slurs spray-painted on the warehouse. Sodomites out. Cops shrugged. Kids. Tommy beefed security. They pressed on. Thanksgiving pivoted. Sarah's first host. No Jim, her invite tentative. He arrived last. Pie in hands. Figured room for one more sinner. Table groaned, turkey. Tensions. Toast stumbled. Sarah to absences felt. Caleb to messes mended. Jim cleared throat. To blood. Thick or thin. Post-feast. Menfolk on porch, cigars. Stars. Jim to Caleb. Heard your welding. Good hands. Gruff bridge. Henry exhaled. World tilting upright. December danced. Wanderer's holiday surge. Loft strung lights. Caleb's cert landed apprenticeship at a Syracuse fab shop. Celebrations raucous. Shots and slow grinds. But midnight. Caleb froze mid-kiss. What if it's not enough? Here. Henry cupped face. Enough's myth. We're plenty. New Year dawned resolute. Albany offer resurfaced. Counter. Remote ops. Elmwood base. Accepted. Growth without graft. Yet betrayal's final lash. Tommy. Confidant. Leaked biz plans to a rival, jealousy. He'd claim later. Over your gay parade stealing shine. Sabotage stung. Lost client. Dented trust. Confrontation warehouse. Thought we were bros. Tommy sneered. Brothers don't flaunt. Ruined the town. Caleb decked him. One punch. Out. Cleanup cathartic. Hires vetted tighter. Lesson. Caleb shrugged. Not all blood's kin. Spring equinox. 1-year mark since the kiss that started it. They renewed vows lakeside. Officiant a queer rabbi from Ithaca. Sarah matron. Mia flower girl absurd. Jim attended. Stoic. Rings exchanged simple. Through fractures. Forever. Summer hummed content. Picnics. Pride floats grander. Wanderer franchise tentative. Caleb's designs patent pending. Sarah's wedding bloomed June. Accountant proposed canoe. Kitsch perfect. Your turn to walk me, she teased Henry Isle. Fall whispers harvest. Apples crisp. Decisions riper. Caleb's apprenticeship bloomed journeyman. Talks turned tiny humans. Adoption seminars. Futures sketched crayon bright. November chill nipped. Gratitude deepened. Thanksgiving full circle. Jim carved. Jokes landed. To strays, he toasted. Ein Caleb. Laughter genuine. December's hush blanketed peace. Loft tree twinkled. They wrapped gifts cross-legged. Practical. Heartfelt. Eve. Snow falling fat. They walked Maine. Hands swung. Regrets? Caleb asked. Henry halted under street lamp. Haloed. None. You? Caleb's grin wolfish. Just not sooner. Midnight mass, First Methodist. Progressive now, Carol swelled. They knelt side pew. Fingers laced. Outside. Bells pealed. First kiss of year under mistletoe bough. Townies whooping. Life's tapestry wove on. Threads frayed. Rewoven stronger. Human. Flawed. Luminous. The years blurred into a mosaic of ordinary miracles. Elmwood's edges softening under time's patient chisel. Wanderer Works anchored Main Street by 2028. A flagship store gleaming with solar panels and maker spaces. Caleb's custom tool line Hargrove Forge, outselling projections. They hired local ex-mill vets. Queer youth fleeing Bible Belt shadows. Fostering a tribe where legacies rewrote themselves. Henry keynote chamber luncheons. Voice steady. Business isn't blood. It's bridge. Caleb's art emerged. Sculptures from scrap. Twisted rebar lovers entwined. Exhibited Syracuse galleries. Your muse, he'd wink, but eyes held depths plumbed in quiet hours. Nightmares faded. Therapy's toll. He mentored at the community center, wrenching Harleys with at-risk kids. Tools fix more than machines, he'd say. Grease-blackened hands guiding small ones. Sarah's life flowered parallel. Married Mark, the accountant, in a vineyard vow swap. Twins arriving pink and squalling a year later. Aunt Henry and Uncle Cal doted weekends. Diaper disasters. Lullaby duets off-key. You two started this chaos, Sarah laughed. Burping babies. Thanks. Jim's evolution staggered, retired to fishing shacks on the ST. Lawrence. Postcards gruff. Caught a keeper. Like you boys. Visits warmed. Porch beers. Stories swapped sans sermons. Was blind. Son. He admitted once. Eyes lake worn. See clearer now. No sorries voiced. But hugs lingered. Betrayals echoed faint. Mia wed a barista. Apologies baked into pies. Tommy resurfaced penitent. Odd jobs penance. Forgiveness selective. But extended. Rise, Henry advised. We all do. Climax revisited autumn 2030. A nor'easter redux. Fiercer. Flooding Willow Lane. Warehouses waterlogged. Elmwood mobilized. Sandbags. Soup kitchens. Wanderer pivoted, emergency kits drop-shipped. Caleb's crew welding barriers. Jim drove up unbidden. Truck bed tarps. Heard you need these. Shoulder-to-shoulder stacking. Rain lashing. Bonds sealed waterproof. Storm broke dawn gold. Cleanup camaraderie crackled. Bonfire that eve. Lakefront. Stories spun. Guitars strummed. Caleb pulled Henry aside. Ring glinting. 10 years since the altar. Still choose you. Henry's throat tightened. Every dawn. Midlife crept benevolent. 30s cresting 40s. Lines etching character. Adoption pursued dogged. Paperwork labyrinth. Home studies probing. 2 dads? Fine by us. Caseworker nodded. Little Jamie arrived, foster emergency. 8. Freckled firecracker with a stutter and soccer dreams. Call me Dad Hen. Henry coaxed first night. Bunk beds creaking. Caleb bonded fierce. Garage forts. Bedtime tales of rogue welders. Families forged. Kid not born. Jamie's stutter eased in their echo. Adoption finalized courtside tears. Elmwood parade float cheering. Sarah's brood grew playmate. Cousin chaos holidays. Turkey turds and tinsel wars. Jim. Gramps now. Whittled toys. For the next Whitaker army. Tensions resurfaced ripples. National headlines. Rights rolled back. Protests pulsing Syracuse. They marched Syracuse. Signs aloft. Love wins local. Backlash nipped. Vandalism. Slurs scrawled. But community cocooned, pride bigger. Allies vocal. Elmwood's changing. Sarah noted barbecues. Thanks to you troublemakers. Caleb's wanderlust whispered occasional. Road trip solo. Harley therapy. Need wind, he'd explain returns. Duffel lighter. Henry trusted. Anchors voluntary now. One such. Montana Redux. Found peace there once. Found you waiting better. Human frailties persisted. Health scares minor. Henry's gallstones. Caleb's sprained wrist from a fab mishap. Arguments petty. Dishwasher loading. Sock trails. Makeup's mythic. Rain-drenched dances in the yard. Apologies etched in skin. Climax intimate brood 2035. Jamie's school bully crisis. Whispers fag dads echoing old wounds. Caleb raged PDA. My boy's gold. Touch him. Touch me. Henry mediated calmer. Counselor's ear. Empathy lessons. Resolution tender. Bully's dad. Reformed bigot. Apology barbecue. Learning late. Thanks. Jamie's pride swelled. He penned essay. My dad's. Welders of Worlds. Published junior high rag. Viral ripple. Legacy looped. Wanderer global now. Franchises Frisco to Fargo. Henry penned memoir. Forged not born. Bestseller modest. Speaking gigs coastal. Caleb illustrated cover. 2 figures mid-embrace. Tools as halos. Sarah's twins college bound. Mark's firm thriving. Visits vignette. Wine nights. Wisdom swapped. You saved me, she confessed once. Post-divorce scare, they mended. Showed love's spectrum. Jim's fade graceful. Heart gentle at 78. Bedside brigade. No regrets, he rasped. Hands clasped. You boys. My best build. Passing equinox. Ashes lake scattered. Boats trailing petals. Grief communal. Memorial potluck. Stories eulogizing. He bent, Caleb toasted. Like us. Decades distilled. 2045 golden, silver temples. Jamie's wedding, non-binary partner. Joy riot. Grandkids toddling. Loft sold. Lake House, there's Victorian echo. Renovations heartfelt. Anniversary 60th. From that faded kiss. Nor'easter nostalgia. Storm watch. Power out. Candles gutter. Full circle, Henry murmured. Gray head pillowed on Caleb's chest. Caleb's fingers carded hair. Better arcs. Dusk deepened. Rain pattering like applause. Outside, Elmwood endured, Mills revived green. Rainbow's routine. Inside, two souls, battle-scarred, basked in afterglow. Humanity's hymn. Love, not flawless, but fierce betrayals bridged. Conflicts carved to canyons of growth. In America's heartland grit, they thrived. Not despite fractures, but through them. Proof that even forced paths, twisted, led home. Epilogue whisper. Jamie's first child, named Whitaker Hargrove, eyes blue as storms. Tell me the story, Tot demanded bedtime. Henry glanced Caleb. Grin eternal. Once, family forced a vow. But hearts, they forged their own. And so, under quilted stars, the tale spun on dramatic, emotional, romantic, rawly human. Endings? Just beginnings, etched in enduring light.